lights in a white old wall in an old alley at night, a black graffiti that spells runway. And it's not exactly a handheld camera moving fast. It's not really showing that fast movement, but we are seeing this black graffiti that spells runway. So it seems to be very good at generating text. Here, super fast zoom out from the peak of a frozen mountain where a lonely hiker is arriving to the summit. It's not really a super fast zoom out. And again, zooming and panning, we've seen this in Gen 2 already. So again, this is not a very challenging prompt. I would expect it to generate this quite well. Wow, this is a really cool generation. So here, the prompt is a first-person point-of-view shot rapidly flies through open doors to reveal a surreal waterfall cascading in the middle of the living room. And it generates exactly that. I wouldn't say this is rapidly flying through open doors, like the movement is quite slow, but it does generate this waterfall cascading in the middle of the living room. This looks very beautiful. Not that I would want this to happen in my living room, of course, but again, it generates water very realistically. I'm just really impressed by the progress of video generation in the past few months. Here's another one. First-person point-of-view shot rapidly flies towards a house's front door at 10x speed. Very interesting. This does seem like it's faster than the previous video, so I would say it is following the prompt of, rapidly flying towards a house's front door. I really like the transition from this house to what seems like a Jurassic Park setting. Again, you could see some inconsistency in the leaves, and the house doesn't really look like a house, but overall, still very impressive. Here the prompt is a pencil drawing an architectural plan. Now, I would like to see more of the hand to see if it can generate hands and fingers properly. Unfortunately, we can't see more of that. And then where the pencil touches the paper, it seems like it's not really drawing on the paper. So you can see the line just kind of disappears. So it doesn't really understand how a pencil on paper works. But if you don't really look closely at the pencil, everything else looks very realistic. This does look like a pencil drawing of an architectural plan. Alright, so here it says Gen 3 Alpha excels at generating expressive human characters with a wide range of actions, gestures, and emotions. So here are a few examples. This is a cinematic wide portrait of a man with his face lit by the glow of a TV. So I guess the TV is in the background. His face isn't really lit by the glow of the TV. And I would say this is quite a simple generation. The man is not changing expressions. This prompt isn't really challenging to me. Next one, a close-up portrait of a woman lit by the side the camera pulls back. And this looks so realistic. Holy smokes. It follows the prompt exactly. The woman is lit by the side and the camera is pulling back. I really like that slight lens flare as it pulls back. This is very realistic. But again, Runway has always excelled at these simple panning and zooming shots. So I wouldn't call this scene high action or high movement. So I would expect that it can generate this quite well. Also notice like the sunlight shows up in the middle of her face. So that's a noticeable error that I just spotted right now. Next, the prompt is zoom in shot to the face of a young woman sitting on a bench in the middle of an empty school gym. Again, just a simple zoom video, nothing impressive here. Close-up of an older man in a warehouse, camera zoom out. Again, I would expect Runway to generate these scenes very well. It's just a simple scene, the character isn't moving or talking or walking. It's not a very challenging prompt. Here's another one, an older man playing piano lit from the side. It follows this prompt very well. And wow, we can only see like a few split seconds of the hands playing the piano, but you can see that it is generating the fingers pressing on the keys of the piano. I would love to see like a longer generation of this, of the hands playing the piano to see if it can maintain that consistency, but just from this demo video, it seems pretty good. Here is a macro shot to the face freckles of a young woman trying to look for something. This kind of looks like Emma Watson, don't you think? Let me know in the comments if you think so as well. Alright, this one is slightly more impressive, so the prompt is an astronaut walking between stone buildings, but you can see the dude is clearly moving his face, he's looking around, he's talking, and his face remains consistent throughout this whole time. And so this is a more impressive generation. I like to really see more higher movement shots to showcase how good Runway can be. Okay, this is a really impressive video. So the prompt is, a middle-aged, sad, bald man becomes happy as a wig of curly hair and sunglasses falls suddenly on his face. So there's a lot of high action here. Not only is he changing his expression from being sad to happy, which it generates perfectly, it also has to slap on this wig and a pair of sunglasses on his face. And it's able to do that really realistically. Can you imagine if you had to film this in real life, how many takes it would take to generate this shot? Here's another example. This time it is of anime. So the prompt is a Japanese animated film of a young woman standing on a ship and looking back at the camera. And it generates this pretty well. I would say the ropes of the ship are not really consistent and her hair isn't really consistent, especially along the edges. But overall, this is a huge improvement compared with Gen 2. Here the prompt is a close-up shot of a woman driving a car, looking thoughtful, blurred green forest visible through the rainy car window, and again, everything just looks very realistic. Here, this is an aerial shot of a drone moving fast in a dense green jungle. And yes, there are some slight inconsistency with leaves and the vines, but other than that, it looks pretty good. I would say the quality of all these videos are definitely slightly better than Lumalab's, which seems to be blurry at times and it doesn't really retain the details that we see for an HD video. Here the prompt is hyperlapse shot through a corridor with flashing lights. A silver fabric flies through the entire corridor. So it doesn't really get the prompt exactly. The lights aren't flashing, but we do see this silver fabric flying through the entire corridor. And this is really impressive to me, how it's able to, understand the physics of fabric and generate this. This does look like a giant piece of fabric floating through the corridor. Again, I'm just mind blown by the amount of progress that we've seen in AI video generation in just the past few months. This is like exponential progress. Alright, next one. This is really cool. So here the prompt is aerial shot of the ocean. A maelstrom forms in the water, swirling around until it reveals the fiery depths below. Super cool video. Here, a push through an ocean research outpost. You can see the text isn't really real. This is a problem I've noticed for pretty running fast toward the camera in an alley in Tokyo. Again, notice the signs and the Japanese characters on the signs. These are not real. Again, this is just a very common problem with generative AI, is that it can't really generate realistic letters or characters that mean anything. And then this pig doesn't really look realistic. It's kind of similar to that Dragon Toucan example where I don't think it's really good at generating animals. Here, an empty warehouse where flowers start blooming from the concrete. And wow, what a beautiful video. I mean, just the amount of creativity this can unlock for anyone who has internet. Like anyone can create a really cool and abstract video of whatever their imagination desires. Now, of course, Hollywood is going to be really pissed by this, but I mean, for everyone else, this really democratizes the video creation process. So you're probably wondering, well, can I use this right now? Well, CTO of Runway has tweeted out today that Gen 3 Alpha will soon be available in the Runway product and will power all the existing modes you are used to. So, I mean, that's the only answer we got so far. It will soon be available. How soon? Is it like tomorrow? Is it next week? Or is it like end of year? We don't know. And then you also might be wondering, well, what are the dimensions? What's the maximum duration of video I can generate? So far, we don't really have details for Gen 3 yet. But at least for Gen 2, you can choose from these aspect ratios. And then for standard definition, it's this resolution. For high definition, you can upscale it to this resolution, which would cost you more credits. And in terms of the max generation, again, we don't really have details for Gen 3, but note that most of the showcase videos for Gen 3 are 10 seconds long, so maybe that is the maximum duration of one generation with Gen 3. But in terms of Gen 2, one generation is currently limited to 4 seconds, but you could extend it further. So the maximum extension after you generate a video and then you extend it 3 times is 16 seconds. This is not as good as Kling or Google View, for example, which can generate up to 2 minutes of video in one generation. And then one other thing to note for Runway is that it's quite expensive. Like out of the existing AI video generators that you can use, Runway has historically been the most expensive, and I actually have been quite frustrated that at least for Gen 1 and Gen 2, I would say most of the time the videos that I've generated were not great, so it turns out to just be a waste of credits. And so basically you can really quickly use up your credits. So keep that in mind. So anyways, that wraps up this announcement of Gen 3 Alpha. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think this is as good as Sora? How does this compare with like Kling or Google's Veo or Luma Labs Dream Machine? And if you've somehow gotten early access to this and you've tried it out, I'd love to hear about your experience with this. Let me know in the comments below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, we built a site where you can find all the AI tools out there, as well as look for jobs in AI, machine learning, data science, and more. Check it out at ai-search.io. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.